A daring jailbreak during a dangerous Louisiana hurricane is interrupted by a horde of large, hungry alligators. Come on, what's not to like about that? This is my review for the new 2023 movie, The Flood. Now, does this film have some bite to it, or should it just be tossed into a death roll of its own? We're going to find out. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome to this new review for the movie The Flood. Yes, this new film, straight to video, rated 15, 93-minute runtime, comes at us directed by Brandon Slagle and written by Chad Law and Josh Ridgway. Now this film sees the casting of Casper Van Dien, who you will know from Starship Troopers and some other projects. He never really made it as a big actor, did he? As Russell Cody, one of the prisoners. Nicky Whelan as Sheriff Joe Newman and Louis Mandylor as Rafi Calderon, as well as a number of other individuals forming this cast of this film. Now, like I said, I do like creature features. I do. I like this sort of a film. I go into them. Now, this film here has only got a $2 million budget, so you can't go in expecting much. But does it use that $2 million to its worth or not? So this film here, it opens up, the storm's already happened, we're introduced to these two characters and it's just a throwaway scene essentially, and we are then introduced to this crew of prisoners on this bus being transported from one prison to another. Only this storm has hit, they're halfway through it, they've got nowhere to go, so they have to go to this sort of remote sheriff's station where they have got some cells to sort of wait out the storm, and this is manned by a couple of sheriffs and that we are introduced to, and as proceedings carry on, we come to find out that there's actually a jailbreak in the process of happening. The truck transporting is going to be hijacked essentially, and one of the prisoners taken off, and they change their plans and they then attack the police station when the prisoners are in there to try and get this prisoner out. Only when they get in, they manage to take it over. They come to find out that, well, actually we're actually surrounded, and this place is now become populated by this horde of hungry alligators, rather large as well, who start to pick off the individuals one at a time who have got nowhere to go. And you've got these people that have to work together from different factions, shall we say, for survival. And you know, the kind of story speaks for itself. But is it any good? This is the primary story for it. I won't go into any detail in depth because really the story is very simplistic. Now, obviously, like I said, Casper Van Dien, he plays the primary prisoner, right? We come to learn about each of the prisoners, about half a dozen of them, 5 or 6. And we get to learn about them, what they do, by these silly pop-up title cards. While we're on the bus with them, the camera freezes, you get like a character card come up of them, essentially, over their image, that tells you their name and why they're there, right? Lazy writing, that is, right? But not only that, we're then introduced to them yet again about 5 minutes later in the prison station, where the sheriff, played by Nicky Whelan, goes through the lineup of them, asks them to step forward, you find out their name and you find out a little bit about them. So it's kind of like this scene is played out twice. But then we kind of get into the action of the movie. Now, I wasn't expecting very much going into this. I had seen the trailer for it, but the trailer doesn't really show how bad things are in the film. And I say that in a bad way, in a sense, because I had a lot of fun with this film. I really enjoyed it. Now, you got to remember, this film's only been made on a $2 million budget, which is nothing. It's pennies, right? But it gives you a good enough story with some interesting characters. Now, some of the characters have some fantastic growth throughout the story. You come to find out about them as they're going on. You do find out little snippets of each of the characters, but generally most of the characters there are for alligator fodder, shall we say. Obviously, You have Casper Van Dien's character, who we learn from this title card, or this character card I spoke about, is a cop killer. You know, multiple life sentences, cop killer. And but obviously he's a misunderstood criminal. There's a lot of backstory to that and why he's there and the goings on with this gang, and it's him that's the one that they've come in to try and get out, and there's some backstory to fill in there, and he's more of a misunderstood villain, shall we say. Certainly not a cop killer, spoilers there, but I mean that was written all over it anyway. He's a sympathetic criminal. The others, you know, you've got all the other inmates. You learn a bit about them, and like in good old Con Air fashion, we you know, they start turning on one another. Things like that going on with it. The different factions turn on one another. Now, as directing goes, there's some decent directing on show here. Director Brandon Slagle, you know, he's got an eye. He's got a good eye. This film here could have benefited from a larger budget. Had this film had a budget like the movie Crawl, I think people may have been all over it and had something good to say about it. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. Yes, it's a cheap film. Some of the acting is hokey. Some of the dialogue is poor. The special effects are abysmal. They're not very good at all. But that being said, it's not a boring film. It's a fun movie. It's a fun time, and I would certainly sit down and watch this film again. I'd give it a pass on its abysmal poor special effects, because like I said, a $2 million budget, they're working with what they've got, so hats off to them for giving you what they did with it. There are some special effects that are somewhat better than others, and I imagine if I went and done a rewatch of the trailer, some of these scenes would appear in the trailer. However, never at any point are the alligators believable. The film does riff on Con Air. I mean, it's quite amusing when you do meet all the prisoners on the bus. It's very Con Air-esque, and when they get off of the bus, it's all done in slow-mo, much like what Con Air is. It's kind of like we've sort of stolen from the Con Air playbook here. And even the line-up in the prison cell when she's talking to each of them, they step forward, and it ain't a case of I'm going to say who I am and what I've done sort of thing. It's you're going to learn a bit about my character, what sort of a person I am, and you can sort of judge by that. Like, yeah, you're a bad guy, you're a decent guy. That sort of element where the criminals will fall. You know, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. It's a cheap film. It's got a lot wrong with it. Of course it does, right? But they're working with what they've got. This is what you got to understand. And like I said, with a bigger budget, right, even with the same director, this film could have given you something marvellous. It really could have done. It's very easy to dismiss this movie as a load of rubbish. But seriously, I've seen far, far worse movies. This is a film that I had a lot of fun with. This is a film that whether it gets a Blu-ray release or just a DVD release, I'll certainly pick it up and have it for the collection, because if nothing else, I had 93 minutes of fun. What else can a movie give you than fun? That's my review for The Flood. So, go check it out. This is AJ. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, come and join the channel. I shall see you on the next one, hopefully. Take care all, and goodbye.